seems like quite a stretch to say that because somebody in the shipping capacity made a mistake in packaging up computers, that everybody within that organization is incompetent. You know, it was a potential distraction, but the important thing was to get focused back on, are the results good and are they meaningful? And again, minor differences in definitions and approaches to keep that 80-20 rule in mind that I mentioned before. Okay, so hopefully this has given you some ideas on peeling the onion, the outsourcing onion. You know, I think outsourcing, as I said before, is something that's here to stay. And so if you think about how can I get through these various challenges, how can I put things in place that are going to work effectively for me, that's you know, that's the right attitude I think to have. Now, be realistic in your thinking about outsourcing. It might be cheaper than doing projects in-house. Might be. Well, not necessarily will be. Might be if it's managed properly. But it will be harder. It will be more complex, and it will be more risky. So you do have to think about these elements of risk. And because testing is a form of risk management, it's I think a good idea to think about in your work, you're a tester on an outsourced project, to how to use the testing effectively to manage some of the risks that will arise, both the project risks and the product risks, quality risks. Okay, so here is some information on how to contact us. I'll leave that up here while we go through the Q&A session here in a minute. We've reached the end of the presentation, so I'm happy now to take questions for the next, what we got here, up to 25 minutes or so. And you'll notice that there is on your screen a facility for asking questions, and I will go through those here. Let me get this a little bigger. Let's see. Let me get through the questions here. So let's see. We got a question on please elaborate more on V model versus Agile and how that affects the testing and outsourced project. You know, again, as I mentioned, the people who are defining how Agile is supposed to work are still grappling with this themselves. I'm starting to see some people talking about this, but you know, I think there are a number of challenges there because of the Agile emphasis on things like face-to-face communication and you know, reducing the amount of documentation and continuous integration and so forth. The frequency of the touch points and the course correction that I mentioned before is something that is going to become a pretty big issue. I think basically what you're going to have to do is look at the logistics of that very carefully. And it's particularly time zone issues. If somebody's going to say, oh, well, we'll just have the outsourcers participate in our Scrum meeting, or, you know, if we have a daily Scrum, well, ask yourself, what time of the day are you going to have that? We have one client that they have a weekly test team meeting, virtual test team meeting. Because of where the outsourced test team is located, they do this at 7 o'clock in the morning. And that's a real hassle for a lot of people who are not exactly morning people. And so there's a certain amount of dissatisfaction within this organization about the outsourcing of the testing, in part just because of the inconvenience that this poses on them once a week. Let's see. I have a question from Lucian here. You did not mention the scenario where development is outsourced and system testing is in-house. Do you see some pros and cons there? That's a good question. Certainly, if you think back on the V model that I showed earlier, you could replace the outsourced development, outsourced test arms, if you will, or pieces, activities with an in-house test team. I'm trying to find that diagram here while this piece here. So if you look at what I indicated as being done by an outsourced test organization, you could also replace that with an in-house system test team, right? The pros of that would be you get a lot of the same advantages that you get from having an outsourced test organization doing it, the independence of outlook and so forth. The other thing that you would, of course, get from that is a reduction in some of the logistics of organizing that integration and or system testing that's done, because it would be done in-house, so the logistics there would be simpler. But of course, you still have to have a communication facility between the in-house team and the outsourced development organization. So, and that's not to completely go away. There are some risks, and I've seen this happen, including even in situations where there were additional outsourced test teams involved, where you can get some firestorms that can break out between the in-house test team and the outsourced development organization, particularly if there's some amount of tension there between them. Now that could, of course, that could happen anyway, but does seem to be more prevalent at an individual contributor level than perhaps at the manager level. So something to watch for, I guess. I'd say look out if you're going to try that. Look out for situations where you think there will be political firestorms that might evolve. But otherwise, I would say, if I had to say, would it be better for us to do what's indicated on this slide as the outsourced test organization's work, or would it be better to let the outsourced development organization do it? I'd say, well, hands down, you continue to own it yourself, because injecting independent testing, whether from an outside test provider or from your own internal resources, is going to be advantageous. Okay, I have a question from Stinio here. How do we manage a complex test environment for systems of systems like banking in outsourced testing? And this is a real multi-dimensional challenge, without a doubt. Now, obviously, one way to do this is that you provide the test environment, and you basically allow the outsourced testing organization and